In this video, we are going to talk about the 49ers' unfortunate luck with injuries this year, as they have had many injuries to some key players on this team. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Alright, so Nick Bosa is the first player we're going to talk about on this list because Nick Bosa is probably their best defensive player that got injured. And I know there's other players like Richard Sherman that got injured or Dee Ford that got injured that some might argue is better. But I think Nick Bosa is the most important player on that defense. Last year he had 9 sacks and had more players taking those sacks away from him, especially DeForest Buckner. But now that team doesn't have DeForest Buckner, Nick Bosa is probably going to get a 10-plus sack season. But he got injured. He tore his ACL and potentially his MCL. And he's going to be out for the full season, which is very unfortunate. Which now brings us to Solomon Thomas, which is in the exact same situation, as Solomon Thomas also tore his ACL and is going to be out most likely for the full season, which is very unfortunate. 2 key defensive linemen for the 49ers have been injured. But then you have to go to another defensive lineman in Dee Ford, and this is where everything gets a whole lot worse. It's like, yeah, they have Dee Ford. They can still generate some pressure, but without Dee Ford, Nick Bosa, and Solomon Thomas, all they got is Javon Kinlaw, and that's not going to do. I mean, they guess they have Eric Armstead, but Javon Kinlaw is a better option, which is quite unfortunate. And that team just took a big hit on defense. But you still have another defensive player who got hurt in the offseason, which was Richard Sherman. And Richard Sherman is a great player. It's unfortunate that all these players got injured, but I think Richard Sherman is going to be really big, just like Nick Bosa, because he's out for quite a few games, potentially up to 3 to 6 weeks, but he might be able to play in the next upcoming weeks, but the doctors are not sure yet. But if he can, then that's a good for the 49ers. But if he can't, that's big trouble, as Richard Sherman is a key part of that defensive backcourt. And without Richard Sherman, that team's not going to do well because they don't have a great leader who has been in the league for many years, just like Richard Sherman. But now we're going to get on to the offensive side of the ball, where we start with George Kittle. And George Kittle should be out for a few more weeks. Unfortunate that they lost George Kittle. I was surprised that he got injured right after he got his contract, too, which is kind of surprising. But at least he's not out for the full year. He has a few more weeks till he can come back, according to doctors, so that's good. So he will be back, good for the 49ers, unless you're like a Seahawks fan or a Rams fan or a Cardinals fan. But besides that, it sucks. But then you have your number 1 wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, out, I believe, with a sickness. So he might be back this week, if not next week. So that's not a big hit until you listen to the other players on this 49ers team that got injured, if you don't know about these players already, which are Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert. Also, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, first, let's talk about Tevin Coleman, the backup running back. He could be out from anywhere to 4 to 6 weeks. And you might say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a backup running back. But the 49ers use their running game the most out of probably any NFL team besides the Ravens. Like, they need every running back that they can, and then they're very successful. But then you also have Raheem Mostert out for 4 to 6 weeks. So that running back core is going to be bad. It's going to suck, but that's what the 49ers are going to have to play with. But then you also have probably the main injury on offense is Jimmy Garoppolo, who will probably be out for this next game against the New York Giants, but might be back in the next week. It's unfortunate because they're probably going to lose. They could potentially lose. Not probably. It's probably a 40-60 chance that they lose, saying that they get the 60 nod of winning. But they could lose to the Giants. I don't think anyone should be surprised if they lose. No one should be surprised if they win, though. But it's unfortunate the 49ers lost because they really don't deserve to lose all these players. But kind of happened to the Rams last year and the Eagles. The Rams got injured. Not as much as the Eagles, but they were the NFC champions the year before the 49ers were, and then they had some injuries and did not play well. And this looks like the same story for the San Francisco 49ers. And this is going to be a tough team to face, even with the players that are injured. But without those players, they're going to struggle. And I especially think without Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas, they're going to struggle to make it to the playoffs because you have some powerhouses on that NFC West side of the NFL with the Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals. And all three of these teams looks great. So it's really unfortunate. 49ers are struggling. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.